Hi, welcome to the third edition of Women in Consulting's Industry Insights. This series invites inspiring female leaders onto our podcast to share their experience and advice to you, our budding consultants. Here with us today is Smriti Agarwal, a consultant currently working at BCG. Simi, welcome. Thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to the session.
Of course. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Simi, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, of course. As you mentioned, right now I'm working as a consultant at BCG, and I actually did my MBA from UNSW's AGSM Business School. I came to Australia for my MBA, loved the country so much, decided to live here, and got a job as a consultant at BCG. In terms of hobbies, interests, what I really enjoy and I'm missing a lot at the moment is traveling. Love to try different sorts of traveling, love going for yoga camps, 10-day, 12-day hikes, treks, meditation courses. So really looking forward for the world to open up so we can get back into all of that. I love being outside in nature, beaches, parks, hikes, but at the same time, like going to nice bars, restaurants for drinks, food. And that's why I feel Sydney is such a dream come true. It has the best of both those worlds. In my free time, I love to mentor. I mentor my siblings, friends, anybody who reaches out to me for support and I can help them. And the last thing I'd like to mention is that I love to try new things. So keep building new hobbies. Tried skiing, miserably failed, but still glad that I tried.
No worries. Yeah, it's good to hear that we've got a fellow UNSW alumni among us, and yeah, same here. Really hoping that lockdown will finish soon and we can be back out there again. Now let's start at the beginning. So talk us through your background. So what did you study? You mentioned a little bit about UNSW, but if you want to elaborate there, and what are some companies and roles that you've worked in previously?
Sure, I've had a very divergent, diverse career path. And even in terms of schooling, I've been very blessed. I've studied across multiple countries. So to start off with, I'm actually from Nepal, but I did most of my schooling in India. So I was in a boarding school from a very young age, from 6 years old. And after doing my schooling in India, I was lucky enough to get an opportunity to do my undergraduate degree in the US. So I went to Colorado College in Colorado Springs, did my degree in mathematical economics there, and straight after was not really keen to enter the workforce yet, you can say that, and I decided to go for a master's degree. So I went to the London School of Economics, got a master's in accounting and finance, worked for a few years, went back home, spent some time with family, and then decided to come here to pursue my MBA. So that's in terms of my education background. In terms of work experiences, I worked for the Royal Bank of Scotland in London. So I entered their graduate program, which was very interesting. You did 6 month rotations in different parts of the bank. I missed home a little bit, and due to personal circumstances, I had to go back to India. But then I got this great opportunity to work with my granddad. He manufactures cowboy boots. So I helped
Wow.
him set up his European branch office, which is very, very interesting. Yeah, and I think then my next job, straight after my MBA, was at Westpac. Given the whole Royal Commission and ASIC requirements, I was working for their remediation program for a year. And after that, I joined BCG.
Wow, that's some great experience. And I see you've got quite the travel experience too. So what was it like working in all the different countries, different cultures? How did you experience? How did you find all that?
I think it was a blessing. You learn so much about the different cultures. You gain so much confidence in dealing with people from different cultures. The way the study patterns are different across different countries, even work culture wise. The way
Hmm.
in Australia, for instance, is really network and relationship based. So a lot of effort. You must put a lot of effort to building your networks, relationships, which are very important to your career trajectory, which I didn't observe as much in London. Of course, there's still some part of it, but out there it's much more quick. The speed is like the speed to output is much quick in London, and you're always rushing. There are more competitors. So very, very different, but you get to learn a lot. And I wish I continued traveling with BCG as well. So once things open up, lots of opportunities, I think, to continue that.
Yeah, hopefully soon. But yeah, sounds great. It's great to get some travel experience and, get a feel of all the different cultures and companies. Now, I guess I'll move on to something here at WIC. We like to talk about fabulous fails. So this is all about embracing our mistakes, learning from these, and building upon our resilience. So, what are some fabulous fails that you may have encountered in your career, and what have you learned from these?
First of all, I'd like to say it's a great concept. I love the idea of fabulous fails. And the more I think of it, I think the more of these you have, the more fabulous you get in your career. So try to get a lot of them quite early on in your
Yeah.
career. I think one of my fabulous fails was when I left RBS, Royal Bank of Scotland in London. It was a very quick and rash decision. I was really bored of the job, and I was also facing some difficult personal circumstances. And rather than really thinking about how I could make the job work for myself, change it to my liking, I just decided to quit without any backup plan. But then I got that opportunity to work with my granddad. And although it was very different from what I wanted to do, I took it as a learning opportunity. And to be honest, it's been one of the best experiences of my life to be able to set up a European branch office with very little help and guidance. And in the meantime, then I also was thinking about what my next career move was. And while I was working with him, I decided, oh, I really want to do my MBA and get back into the corporate world. So I made that work alongside doing this great, amazing job for him and helping him establish a business in Europe.
Yeah, that's really great. And it's interesting to hear. So, correct me if I'm wrong. So, I guess the first kind of jobs that you had weren't necessarily consulting focused. It was like different areas, but then you moved into consulting. So, I guess that leads us to the next question. So, you're currently working at BCG as a consultant. How are you finding this role? What are some key projects that you're working on at the moment as well? It would be great to get some insights.
Sure, of course. First of all, I would like to say that it is quite a challenging job. Like, a lot of people say it's challenging. I thought, yeah, how challenging could it be? Or like, I'm sure I can manage it. But I think everybody finds it challenging when you start your first consulting job. And at the moment with the lockdown, it is much more challenging because that learning just sitting next to your peers is not available as much. We try to replicate that virtually, but it's just very difficult to do
Same.
so. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I'd like to say it's like the sense of accomplishment you get, like after each project, when I've reflected back, I've just been like, oh my God, I've learned so much about a completely new industry. I've learned something completely new about how to do digital transformation. So it's been almost a year for me at BCG, and I really feel I've learned in 1 year, I've learned more than probably I would have learned in 3 years somewhere else. And the other thing is, yeah, this job really gives you the opportunity to learn about lots of different industries, work with the smartest and the most humble people. You can literally see every day as a learning opportunity. In terms of projects I've worked with, so my background is FI. I started with an FI case on cost transformation. And at the moment, I'm working for a mining client, and we are working to create their long term 2030 plus vision for a particular area referred to as integrated operations. So you're co working with the client through workshops, through reference group sessions, and trying to come up with this really cool vision of what technology would look like in 2030 and what does that mean for you as a mining client. It's quite interesting actually to work in these industries where I've literally dealt with nothing before coming to consulting.
Wow, yeah, I can imagine. You mentioned all these different industries, and I know not having the experience was probably challenging, but I'm sure it's an exciting space to be in. I guess, could you describe a typical day in your life? What does that look like working as a consultant at BCG?
Sure. Yeah, the days really vary. There's like every day will never be the same, but mostly for most days, you have a stand-up call where you discuss what is the plan of attack for the day, what are your main goals for the day. throughout the day, you will have lots of calls. You will have meetings with the client. You might have internal calls with BCGers across the globe who might be an expert in the area that you're working on, just to get knowledge from them. And at the end of the day, you have your checkout call just to discuss if there's anything pending, how can the team support you? Are there any blockers that the team can help you with? So that's very typical every day. You'd have your start of day, end of day, and calls in between. And then, of course, you spend a lot of time doing your individual slide creation, research. You might meet with your manager. We refer to them as project leaders, one on one, to brainstorm, problem solve what you're working on. So, do a virtual whiteboard session, you may call it that. Otherwise, I've heard in the real world there's a lot of focus on whiteboard sessions, which I haven't had the chance to experience much. And on Fridays, it's pretty good because you go back to your office and you affiliate with your office. So they'll have different sessions. You might have different groups, such as Women at BCG, Pride at BCG. They will hold certain events, and you really get to meet your colleagues, really get to build those networks and affiliations. And you can even focus on magic time projects if you want to do something in the social impact space and work on that in the side.
Wow, that
Overall,
sounds
there is,
great.
yeah, a lot of autonomy to do things. It's just how you are able to manage your time and you maintain that communication.
Wow, that sounds great. BCG sounds like a great place to work. You have all these different opportunities. And I guess for our budding consultants watching, it'd be great to get some insights into what are the best, but also the worst aspects of a job in consulting in general. How have you found the experience weighing up the pros and the cons and of this career path?
In terms of the best opportunities, I'll give you three points that I have as best opportunities. I think I've already mentioned the first one. It offers great learning opportunity. If you're driven to learn new things, BCG or any consulting firm would be a great place to work. There are so many smart people and they're solving the most intriguing problems, literally really big problems for multinational companies that would have big impacts, like our recommendations would really alter the direction for some of these firms. So I think in terms of the learning opportunity and solving problems, one of the best things about this job. The second thing, which I've only had the opportunity to do once, is the traveling aspect. So usually you are involved in cases which could be across Australia, sometimes even in Asia or other parts of the world. So just that whole feel of traveling, going to a client site, um, I love that as well. And given that I'm by myself here in Australia, it really adds a lot of fun to the case environment. And I think the last thing I would like to say, it really prepares you to succeed anywhere, even if you decide to switch firms. You either decide to work at BCG or go outside. The consulting toolkit or the basic core skills that they teach you about communication, structured problem solving are universal. So you would use them wherever you go.
Great.
In terms
Not
of
so good things.
good things, I don't want to call them worst. Yeah, not so good things. As I think I mentioned, my first one would be, again, it can be stressful. So you have to learn how do you manage stress. It can be as much or as little stress as you want to take. So only you can figure out how best you can manage stress. There are a lot of people within the organization to support you. Even your project leaders want to support you. So I think it's important to reach out for help when you need it. In terms of sustainability, I think mostly I've been in my 1 year at BCG. I think it's been quite sustainable. So I've not had crazy late hours. I've been able to get enough sleep, exercise. But once in a while, you might be put on a project, which is a really like short 3 week project on a due diligence that might require you to push through. But overall, I think they try to balance it pretty well. So the culture is changing. But yeah, it can be a little bit less sustainable at times, and you have to be prepared for that. And the last thing, which I feel has been especially the case for me, I feel it's really fast paced. So you need to be switched on. It's not even about the hours that you're working, but it's like literally you have to have your brains and your thinking caps on throughout the day and really be progressing with the rest of the team. So that's one thing that I've been working on, is to really catch up.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, it's good to see, obviously there are really great learning opportunities they can get with consulting, and you can work in a variety of industries. And of course, you've got that, sometimes it can be a bit full on, as you mentioned, but it's good to see that, the company is supporting you along the way, and it's still overall a great balance and a great time. And I guess that leads me on to the next question. You mentioned, what are some key qualities that you believe a consultant should possess? You've had about a year experience in this industry. What are perhaps certain skills that you yourself have found to be really important that you continue to work on?
I think one of the most important skills that you have to when you enter consulting is about really pushing your thinking to the next level. As consultants, they really expect you to go beyond the obvious and the known. So the client already knows what the obvious answers are. So as a consultant, you have to push your thinking to come up with those stretch ideas, stretch goals, go the extra mile, be extra innovative in terms of your problem solving. So I think if you have the ability to push your thinking or want to develop that, then consulting is a good option. The second thing is about communicating with structure. Oftentimes, I think before when I've worked outside consulting, I've seen it's very easy to ramble, especially during meetings. It's like going around the room talking, but there's no clear action or outcome. As consultants, I think one of the key things that we bring to the table is that ability to communicate in a very structured manner so everybody is able to follow with clear buy-in about what we want out of that meeting, what are the outcomes we want, what are the key recommendations. And that whole, when you do consulting case practices, you will come across top down communication, storylining, issue tree, and we use that literally day in and day out. So those are skills that actually really matter. And the last thing I would say in terms of qualities is networking. Even after you get through BCG, the emphasis they play on internally and externally networking is very important to build your own presence within the organization and with the clients. So, and usually this is one area that I was very shy in terms of networking, and I've tried to improve slowly. I've joined groups like Women at BCG to build my affiliation and networks within the organization.
Right. Yeah. So see lots of great advice there, lots of different skills that our viewers can start honing in on. And I guess you mentioned women at BCG. So I guess that moves on to another very important topic that I want to discuss, the role of women in consulting. So I think, have you come across any misconceptions about women in business? And if so, how have these been challenged by your experiences?
Yes, when I was doing my MBA, we often had networking sessions and we heard like different stories about, a lot of times, even though women are hired, they have to leave their career in consulting because it's not sustainable once they have children or if they want to focus on family. And I feel like when I have entered consulting, that conception has completely, it's a myth. I've seen so many successful women at BCG who have been able to manage their career and kids who've had kids during their career at BCG. Just the availability of options at BCG in terms of the different flex models you can adopt, the different career tracks you can adopt. I think it isn't like I can see women progress throughout their career at BCG and get to very senior positions. And I would like, yeah, that's not, I would say that that's a big misconception. So definitely break that. And the other one that I heard, which was quite a bold one, was that a lot of times women are promoted because they want to meet a certain percent criteria of senior leadership roles to be women. And I've not felt this at BCG again at all. Like most of the senior MDPs, we are like the managing director and partners who are women, their ability to think is so different. They show so much empathy, their level of knowledge, how approachable they are, always open to feedback. So each of them is totally deserving of where they are. And again, I would say like just being a woman does not mean you'll get promoted. Like you have to work hard and you have to be good at the job.
No, I think that's great. I think you kind of captured both spectrums. On one side, there is that common misconception. I myself have heard it, as a woman, it's hard to balance both a family and a home life versus, a career. But it's great to see that, obviously this is false. And on the other hand, all the women that are in those top positions, it's not just, it's because they truly deserve it. And it's great, women offer a lot to business. And I think, yeah, that's some great insights that you gave us there. And I guess that leads us to, and I know you mentioned it before, but any programs or opportunities that are out there for women in particular who are interested in consulting? And I know there are a few that you mentioned at BCG.
Yes, in terms of other firms, I might not be that aware, but in terms of BCG, we do hold, I think, either quarterly or maybe semi-annual events where we encourage women who are interested in a consulting career to come and speak to us. I'm not sure of the exact timing or dates. I'm pretty sure they're available on our website. But apart from like formal programs, I would say, like even just reaching out to someone who is a woman who's currently working in consulting, such as like myself, most of us are quite open to sharing our perspective, giving you tips on applications. It might not be like if you reach out to us today, we can help you tomorrow, but within the next week or so, I think most people who work at BCG would be very open to setting up a 15-20 minute chat, answering a few questions for you. Even our HR team overall is very, very helpful in this way. They're always encouraging people to learn more even and understand more before even applying. So like don't only rely on formal programs and opportunities. Try to at UNSW, I'm sure a lot of women go into consulting. So use that alumni network to find roles you are interested in and try to reach out to them to understand the roles better.
Yeah, bringing back in that networking again. And it's great. I think, it's good to build a network of women supporting women, just like you yourself today, who've come in to, share some of your experiences today, which has been really great. So definitely great piece of advice to, reach out, take the initiative, and I'm sure everyone's willing to give out some advice. So I guess the final question for today, what key piece of advice would you give to your younger self?
I think the first one, probably must have heard from a lot of people, but it's just take more risks. And the younger you are, the consequences of taking more risks are also very minimal. So I think just to get to the position where you want to be, you have to experiment a little bit, try different career opportunities, try different things. And sometimes, even if you end up changing your track, but some of the most memorable or the key learning moments come from taking those risks. So definitely take more risks, and especially while you're at uni or even immediately after uni.
That idea of
Um,
fabulous fails coming up there as well. I like it. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. The second thing is, I think, don't be afraid to be different. I think sometimes blending in can be quite boring. In fact, you really should stand out and don't be afraid of your unique qualities. If you're in a room filled with people, if you have a very different opinion, don't be shy to raise that. As women or as anybody in a room, we encourage diverse perspectives, diverse ideas. So the whole point of having boards that have a mix of diversity is to bring in that different perspective. So don't shy away from being different from others around you. One of the key advices one of my flatmates and gave me was, it's like you do you and I do me. So as a woman, again, I would say like you do you and leave the rest in terms of what works best in terms of your career. How do you balance your work and your family and your kid commitments? Only you can understand. So don't let someone else describe what is the right way of doing things. You do what works best for you. And that's how I've seen most of our partners at women at BCG succeed, women partners especially.
Perfect.
And to be honest, yeah, I'm still trying to apply all of them. I'm still not there.
No, that is great advice. That's really great advice. Yeah, thank you so much, Simi, for joining us today. It was absolutely lovely talking to you. We really appreciate you taking out some time out of your day to share your really wonderful words of wisdom. And I'm sure our viewers, as I know I have learned some really great insights and really inspiring advice to help kickstart a career into consulting. So yeah, thank you so much.
No worries. It was a complete pleasure, and I hope some of you are excited to apply for consulting. And again, I would like to reiterate, don't let anyone else tell you whether you are meant for consulting or not meant for consulting. Give it a try, and that's the best way for you to know.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it's great to hear from someone who, is recently joined into the consulting space, because I know there's a lot of pressure that, you have to get like start studying about consulting from the get-go. But it's good to see, it's a great industry to just go into, and you'll learn a lot from it. So yeah, really great. Thank you for joining us today. So we hope that you enjoyed today's episode of Industry Insights, and we'll see you at the next edition. Thanks. Bye-bye.